As far as lawmakers are concerned, we try to do the advocacy on behalf of India as well as the Indian diaspora, which is good for this generation, though it is the next generation that has to take over. And I'm glad to learn that almost 35% of the delegates that are here are under the age of 35. You guys need to take it over. In USA, almost 4.5 million Indians are here, and we are going to have the issues for us, as well as our next generations to come. And as Kangaroo said, we need to represent our issues to our lawmakers right on the Capitol Hill here, like this, or in our own constituencies, develop a relationship with them so we can work with them.
And now, with NSF partnering with Indian science and technology platforms, like the Department of Science and Technology, NSF and DST, as it is called, has developed a strong partnership over many years, but specifically the last couple of years. We have a number of joint projects funded by NSF and DST, where NSF invests in the US researchers, DST invests in the researchers from India. We have a strategic partnership which now has resulted in 2 rounds of projects and proposals that have been funded that brings researchers and students and postdocs and others working together. And yes, in partnership with industry too. The other major organization in India which promotes science, technology, and innovation activities is called the Ministry of Information Technology, called MITI. So NSF and MITI have a strong partnership again, and we have released a number of joint projects again with MITI recently. And at MITI, it is not only the researchers from IITs or other institutions in India working with counterpart institutions like Stanford or Harvard or MIT or ASU or Purdue, whatever the institution might be. We have a number of joint projects through MITI, but also the partnership with industry on both sides participating in some of these projects. Partnership is with the Department of Biotechnology, or DBT. We work on a lot of areas related to biotechnology, bioeconomy, biomanufacturing, fundamental work in terms of genomic sciences, all the way to ecology and translation work in bioengineering and rehabilitation devices, you name it. All of that is co-invested between US NSF and the Department of Biotechnology. President Khan talked about critical minerals. Critical minerals area is obviously becoming very important, clearly for both nations. And I look at the US-India partnership as 2 partners, yes, large democracies, the oldest as well as the largest, whichever way you want to look at it. Okay? But more importantly, we have 2 nations that are founded in values that bind us together. We have shared values, shared aspirations that brings us together. And therefore, it is a natural inclination, because of shared values and shared aspirations, that we want to work together. And therefore, the DST partnership, MITI partnership, and DBT partnership, and the 4th strand, Ministry of Earth Sciences, we are working on a number of contemplating on working on a number of projects that brings us together in terms of the geoscience partnership. As you can see, DST, you have to put it again, DST, MITI, DBT, Earth Sciences, and Ministry of Mines. All these 5 threads of partnerships are thriving and progressing very well. And there is an underlying partnership that we have that binds all of this is the Department of Higher Education, or the Ministry of Higher Education. And last but not the least, we are working on a Quad partnership with Japan, Australia, India, and the United States, not only on the defense and national security objective, but also in terms of how can we advance on societally meaningful and social good kind of projects like AI projects. So we are advancing, as you can see, on multiple threads of the partnership between US and India, so that we can actually have 2 like-minded partners, making it possible for me personally, NSF, increasingly has to be about opportunities everywhere for everyone in our country. Whether it is from a rural area or an urban area, rural Kansas, or rural Wyoming, or from urban areas that opportunities and talent and ideas are democratized, we want to make sure that all domestic talent in the United States is unleashed at full force and full scale.
I'll try to stay in the frame. Like Punch, I like to go out and sort of walk around, but thank you all very much. I should admit right at the outset that I absolutely hate following Dr. Panchanathan because he's a natural and gifted orator, and he basically stole my entire speech. So I'm going to have to improvise up here, and so forgive me if I do. But I want to recognize and acknowledge my dear friend Sri Priya Ranganathan, Ambassador Ranganathan. We're honored to have you here, ma'am. Kandaralji, thank you very much for bringing us all together. Dr. Barai, nice to see you, sir. Dr. Desai. Nissenbhai was somewhere, but he went away. We all go back a long ways. And I should start my remarks with a bit of a disclaimer. I am a mere pensioner. I am a retiree. Uncle Sam pays me to draw breath, but nothing else. So when I speak only for myself. But I should talk a little bit about what I do. I'm the president now of the United States India Business Council. We are a business council housed in the U.S. Chamber of Commerce that was established in 1975 at the behest of both the Indian and American governments to try to enhance the business and trade and investment ties between the people of the United States and the people of India. And we've been very proud to do that and very honored to do that and privileged to do that for almost 50 years. But friends, since Dr. Panchanathan stole my speech, I'm going to tell a little story. As a young man, my parents lived in Africa. My dad had a UN assignment. And in 1983, he retired from UN service. And we moved to the small town of Charlottesville, Virginia. Now, I had been going to America all through the 70s and then the 80s because my grandmother lived in Virginia. And when I would come from Lusaka, Zambia to Virginia, people didn't know what to do with me. You know, here's me, an Indian American kid in Newport News, Virginia. I was extremely exotic when I went with my grandmother to church. And when we moved to Charlottesville in 1983, we were extremely exotic. My mother wore a sari everywhere she went. We cut a very broad swath as we went through the Safeway or the A&P grocery store. And there was only one other Indian American family in Charlottesville, Virginia back then, a gentleman who was the town planner of Charlottesville and had done a brilliant job of it. So we felt very kind of aware of the fact that we were Indian American. And as we go through time and I get to this moment and I look at this group and where we are and what we were trying to achieve, and Kandaralji spoke so eloquently about the policy impact we're trying to have in enhancing the friendship between the United States and India and enhancing the happiness of the Indian American community, I'm just amazed at how far we have come. And I think we all ought to feel very proud. There are all kinds of statistics. The one that sticks with me, since we're in the Congress and they do the budgets, which I'm very mindful of as a retired government official, is that maybe Indian Americans are about 1.5% of the population of the United States, but we contribute 6% of the tax revenue of this great country. And I think that's how far we as a community have come in this great nation, how far the United States and India have come together. We now have a wonderful partnership in the Indo-Pacific with our Quad partners. We have an emerging and very promising partnership in helping buttress the stability of the Middle East. We see eye to eye across the entire Indian Ocean and the Pacific Islands and in Southeast Asia and in many other places. We have technology cooperation that is being given an absolute fuel boost by both governments and so much else, counterterrorism, intelligence, economic cooperation. And that's where I feel very privileged. Between the United States and India, our two democracies have a great deal of untapped potential on the economic and commercial and investment front. Dr. Ranganathan knows that there are a lot of Indian investors in America, a lot of American investors in India. Investment creates prosperity. It does not create debt. It creates taxes and revenue, employment. It creates real transfer of knowledge and know-how, and it creates strong, free, open, independent, sovereign nations. And so we have a natural partnership, as Atal Bihari Vajpayee said. We need to work on getting to the full potential of our bilateral trade. And this is where I would urge our community to talk to their members of Congress and to policy leaders in both countries and say, let's be more ambitious. Let's work toward facilitating trade through things like digital services agreements and bilateral investment treaties and so much else that can really energize the U.S.-India relationship.
From a situation where we rarely agreed, I think we have truly now come to a situation where we rarely disagree, and that is really a journey that we have made in the bilateral partnership. And for that, I think that the insights, the interventions, the advocacy, and the sheer presence of the Indian American community has a great deal to, no matter which field, and again, this is, I would echo my good friend Atul in saying this, that whatever field the Indian diaspora chooses to enter, we have found that they have excelled, they have earned a reputation for professionalism, for excellence, for leadership, and we are hugely proud of our diaspora.
Very long ago that it would be hard to get 5-6 Indian Americans to show up to the Hill. And so we've come a long way that so many people from around the country are coming in. And I want to thank you for the time that you've taken and the passion that you've shown to come to the Capitol and to be engaged in the process. Let's give everyone a round of applause for coming in. I really enjoyed and appreciated when Prime Minister Modi was at the joint session. I really came away from that speech. I was proud of him. I thought what he had to say was from honor, was from the heart, and he meant it. And very much what he spoke about was the advancements taking place within India, the diversity of India, and the great alliance and cooperation with the United States of America. Where your heritage and your nationality, if you will, is you're very proud of it, but you're great Americans. And so it's noticeable, it's appreciated, and I know it's only going to get more enhanced as time moves along. You know, the U.S. and India relationship is getting stronger all the time. The type of commerce that we have, the trade that we have, the importance of our alliance, and I'll also just add the great impact the Indian industries have on the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, my home state. We have many strong businesses that are based in India that trade and do and hire and create jobs and wealth and prosperity throughout the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. In fact, it's nearly $1 billion of employment from Indian national businesses, corporations. So that's very appreciated.
Others are encouraging just the opposite behavior. I don't like it at all. That's why we have an immigration bill, bipartisan, with exactly the same Republicans and Democrats, 16 each, on my 65-42. And you guys are ready to, if you haven't read it, you got to read it. It gets rid of the 7% cap. It gets rid of the backlog. For 20 years to become a citizen, it gets rid of all the backlog and actually gives you a fair shake to a community, especially, I remember when I briefed it to Chairman Jordan, he said, so this is going to basically probably benefit the Indian diaspora more than anybody. I was like, yes, sir. He said, okay, I need your help. Whatever congressman you have, if they haven't already co-sponsored this bill, tell them to get on this bill. It's a great bill. It's not a partisan bill. It's to the benefit of this country. So I need you. Come help us pass this because it's going to benefit all of us. Not just the Indian diaspora, but America in general. And then we'll tackle the immigration process as a whole, because I think we need to talk about hotel industry, IT, agriculture, medical people. We can attack this from every direction. We need a flexible, expansionist immigration policy for legal immigrants who are going to do the right thing. We need that to be a strong America.
And if you don't have a seat at the table, you're on the menu. And all of you, by coming here, are pulling up a proverbial seat to the proverbial table. When Congress looks like America, it functions better. And now the Indian American community has come of age. The recent census in 2020 said it all. You know this. The Indian American community now numbers more than 5 million people and growing. It is the fastest growing ethnic minority in America. It's the best educated. It's the most prosperous. And it's some of the best looking people I've ever seen. The point is this. You have arrived. But not only that, India has arrived. Am I right about that? That AI is amazing India, right? I add another phrase to AI, ascending indefinitely. Am I right about that? Amazing India, ascending indefinitely. AI squared. That is what India is. But you are the bridge between India and the United States. You are the ones making sure that this partnership goes to higher heights, becomes wider, becomes stronger, becomes deeper, cuts across all sectors, from security to commercial ties, to people ties, to everything in between. And so you deserve credit as much as anyone else.
Economically, we're seeing a lot of traction in the US. Trade is around $200 billion, growing substantially. Almost 1,600 global payroll centers are being set up in India by US companies. They export roughly around $122 billion worth of intellectual property. In fact, companies like Qualcomm, 50% of their IP is now coming out of India. When you look at chip design, every chip design in the world is being designed in India. We have over 300,000 chip designers at the moment in India itself. And when you're looking beyond that, India has placed over 1,000 plane orders in the US. Almost $12.5 billion worth of investment came from India last 1 year itself. So the trade is moving in the right direction. Both countries supporting each other economically.
And we, for many Japanese, India was the dreamland because, we learned Buddhism from there. So to go to India was almost visiting heaven. And literally, I'm not exaggerating. So since that time, I think it was only natural to see that the relationship between Japan, India, but also together with the US and another major global democracy in our region, Australia, to flourish. I was very heartened to hear from the ambassador as well as previous speakers about key areas that all these countries can cooperate. And one of the, among many, but 4 key areas that were stipulated and agreed among the Quad leaders are on issues like climate change, reliable supply chain, also provision of vaccination, and also how to tackle disaster risk mitigations. All of our countries, 4 of us, are suffering from many aspects of climate change that have transformed into natural disasters. And all these are the key areas that we feel there's a great potential for all 4 nations to work together.
In 2023, we saw the official state visit of Prime Minister Modi, President Biden's trip to India for the G20 summit, the launching of the Initiative for Critical and Emerging Technologies, or ICET, and the Quad Leaders Summit, all of which advanced key priorities across a range of sectors, from defense, trade and investment, to strengthening people-to-people ties. And as we approach the midway point of 2024, we are on track for another very productive year. As fellow democracies, our ambitions across climate, space, defense, business, and security ties demonstrate the potential of our governments to deliver, not only for our people, but for the world. But defense is not the only element of this relationship that contributes to security. Our trade, investment, and commercial ties are contributing to US, Indian, and global economic security. Nowhere is this more evident than in the major investments that our 2 countries are making in clean energy. India's Epsilon Carbon Limited announced it will invest $650 million in a US greenfield electric vehicle battery components factory. and India's VSK Energy LLC plans to invest up to $1.5 billion in U.S. solar panel manufacturing operations as well. As President Biden and Prime Minister Modi said during the official state visit last year, and I quote, "No corner of human enterprise is untouched by the partnership between our two great countries, which spans the seas to the stars. As much progress as we made, and I think we're only just getting started."
I too, you two, held and continues to hold great promise. From its initial unveiling in October 2021 to the summit in 2022, and on through the first 3 quarters of 2023, it attracted increasing interest and excited investors and innovators in all 4 countries. In late September of last year, on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly in New York, a new private enterprise partnership to advance I2U2 collaboration was announced, while the 4 countries hosted an official I2U2 website requesting project proposals in the fields of water, climate and energy, transportation, space, health, food security, and technology.
I am just so proud. I'm just so proud of the Indian American community in the United States and all that you all have achieved in every field of. And now I really admire this involvement, the passion, the activism in the political arena. This is one area where we historically haven't made as many strides as we should have, we could have, and we must have. And I'm starting to see the Indian American community growing a political muscle, and that is very, very welcome. Thank you so much. I have experienced that, and we have not have a comprehensive immigration reform since the late 80s. And it is about time we do that. A lot of times people forget the contribution immigrants have made to this country. And I have already introduced a couple of my bills to make access to these visas, get rid of that. But there is a long way to go. We need to get rid of the country quotas. We need to raise H-1B numbers. And we need to welcome our immigrants, because our immigrants contribute so much to our economy. I focus a lot on access to capital for people who want to start their businesses. Just introduce a bill to raise the limits of 7A SBA loan program from 5 million to 10 million, so it would help business owners. I'm working with FIIDS and FIIDS on doing a lot of interesting visa bills, student visa bills, making things easier for the immigrants, the students who we need desperately. And lastly but not least, I'm just so pleased to and so proud to have introduced for the first time in the United States Congress a bill against Hinduphobia.
The great thing about America and India together is our democratic viewpoints, right? The greatest democracy and the biggest democracy. And so when I think about the relationship, how important it is, not only from a technological standpoint, but from a global camaraderie standpoint, we need to stand together, especially now, especially with the rising China and militarily. Like, we have to be as one organization, one thought, one viewpoint, one people, one direction. That's how it has to be. That we share together. And I know in my local community, which we call, generally speaking, it's the Asian Indian American of Central Pennsylvania, AIACP. We have a great community that contributes wonderfully to our community and makes our community so much more than it would be otherwise. And the things that are contributed are things that every single American aspires to. And here's the other thing that we don't get. We don't get high crime rates from our friends in the Indian community. We don't get laziness from the Indian community. You know, they have a hard time defining what is an American. But what is an American? It's the great traits that we have wherever they come from in America. And so those are to be celebrated, those are to be emulated, those are examples of what to be, and the great community leaders and families and individuals in your community provide that in our greater community. And so every single time we have an opportunity to celebrate that, we do that.